pick on him for a lot of things, but he really dogs these expenses, and almost every major category we have, he beats the budget, and so we're doing really good there. Another reason we're doing pretty good is because we've been very proactive in looking for ways to save money in big chunks and little chunks. And a good example of that is a big chunk is the geothermal for the pool. It's been active now for almost 2 years. It's entirely paid for now, and it's saving us about $90,000 a year. Thank you. There are other projects too, but that's the most significant one. And there's a couple other things. One thing is we're selling new homes and used homes much quicker than we had anticipated previously. It seems like there's a frenzy when people come in and start looking at homes and buying them. That spurs more buying and more buying and more buying. And we're building and we're selling faster than we projected, and that directly goes right into our revenue at that point. So we have that $2,500 that is the initiation fee, plus the $220 assessments every year going in, and that feeds our kitty a little bit. And then the fourth thing that's happening there is good news and bad news. The bad news part is that the state is going to take some of our land and widen State Route 52 up there, and we're going to have to endure a little bit of a mess for a while. And when we're finished with that, it's not going to be the same look that we have right now. The good news part is they're compensating us for that to the tune of about $890,000. So we sort of fell into it there. Some of that $890,000 is going to have to go back into rebadging the front, meaning a nice monument with our name on it, trees, bushes, additional landscaping, lighting, flagpole, the whole bit, to make it look attractive and to sort of badge it so it still is evident from the road that it's our club. So those are four reasons that we're in a really nice cash position at this point. And Dave, if you hit the slide there, we'll start talking about where we are. What our financial position is going to be in May of 2014. And you can see up here our operating fund in May of 2014 will be at about $1.3 million. And the reason I chose May of 2014 is if we have a vote later this year and the vote passes and everyone agrees that this is a good thing to do, our construction can begin as early as May of next year. It'll have to be done in the summer, of course. Most of the snowbirds will be gone. We're a little bit slower at that time anyway. So I chose May of next year as the assumption of our starting point. Our reserve fund at that time will be $734,500. And from the state of Florida, we'll be receiving about $890,000. So our total cash at that point is going to be just shy of $3 million. So that's pretty healthy. Now, what can we use for the building at that point? We're recommending that we use $700,000 of the $1,300 for the expansion of the building if it's approved. And the reason we're doing this is we feel that $600,000 is a nice safe cushion in that operating fund. We've operated with a lot less than that fund now, but I'm very conservative when it comes to dollars, and I'd rather be sitting on some cash in case something happens that we're not anticipating now. So if we take $700,000 from that, and if we don't take any money for the expansion from the reserve fund, but somebody remind me later on to expand a little bit on the reserve fund when I get near the end of this slide. So our reserve fund, if we don't take anything out for it, will grow to about $935,000 by the end of 2014. State of Florida, $890,000. We're projecting we can use about $600,000 of that for the building, and that gives us $1.3 million. Now we've told Foley Bryant that our budget is $2 million for this project. Hopefully we can get it done for a little bit less than that. So we're projecting that we can do it for 1.9 million, which would require the difference between the 1.3 and the 1.9 is 600,000. We would need a new loan. And when we first started projecting this, I'll tell you how interest rates are gone up already. Our current loan that we have, our first mortgage, is at 4.85%. And when we started last year looking at doing this, we were looking at 5% is what we projected. Then we went to 5.25%. Now we're at 5.5% because we don't know what the interest rates are going to be next year. But I can tell you right now that BB&T has quoted us 5.1%. That's who we have our first mortgage with. They quoted us 5.1% on a loan for 5 years, amortized with 15 years. So rates are going up, and we're in a good position now where we can do something before the rates go up too high. So a new loan of $600,000, we're projecting at 5.5%, which would make a monthly payment of $4,902, or $58,000, almost $59,000. You can afford to do that right now without affecting the assessments at all. Now, that doesn't mean assessments won't go up. I want to be clear about that. What we do with this expansion, these projections, this will not cause the assessments to go up at all. Something else might happen that we just have no idea what it is. That might cause assessments to go up, but this building fund, the way it is now, will not cause assessments to be raised. So our present loan that we have, our first mortgage, we took out at 7 years, amortized at 15 years. And that is due on February 2nd of 2019. At that time, we'll have a little bit over $2 million left to pay on that loan. If we take a 5-year loan out, which is what we're projecting up here, 5 years, amortized at 15 years, we'd have $454,000 left on that loan at the end of 2 years, at the end of 5 years, sorry. So both these loans would, in effect, come due at the same time, and at that point, we'd have to go back and probably borrow another $2.5 million to keep the place going. Don't ask me what that'll cost because I have no idea what interest rates are going to be at that point, and anybody that thinks they know what they're going to be a year from now is just using Kentucky windage. So that's where we stand. We're in a very unique place here financially where we can go ahead and have a really Class A facility. And this is how we can do it without costing any more money out of your pocket. Oh, okay, there you go. Thanks, Dave. All right, thank you. The reserve fund. Whoops. That's okay. Yeah, on the reserve fund, you can see we're taking nothing out for the building here in the reserve fund. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to use some reserve funding while we're doing the expansion. An example of that is our reserve study shows that within 5 years we're going to need about $90,000 to replace our roof. So if we're going to next year be making major changes to our roof and everything, that would be a good time to redo the entire roof. So we might be using some reserve money at that point to do something that we would spend out of reserves anyway eventually. So even though there's a zero there, that doesn't mean that we're not touching reserves at all. It'll just be something that's already in the reserve plan that might come a little early. Same thing for kitchen equipment. The reserve calls for so many dollars a year to go into kitchen equipment. And when we equip this kitchen, we don't expect to have to put any major additions to the kitchen for many years because we'll have basically new things in there. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
I think I don't know, maybe Paul can tell us where we are as a profit and loss we don't really do specific numbers, profit and loss by each item that closely because there's some overhead that's shared between departments. But I can tell you we do operate at a loss on all those operations. As far as the size of the kitchen, again, what we have on here is kind of a space holder. We have not even started with our kitchen consultant yet. We will bring them in. They'll kind of tell us what they think we need. We may need to amend that depending on budgets. Again, I want to talk about the budget side of it. We kind of pulled a $2 million number somewhat out of the air based on some of the experience that Foley Bryant's had at Tara and some other clubs. We don't know if that's the number that works with what we've got today. One of our next steps, if we get kind of a positive feedback that people want to move forward with this, is that we bring a contractor on board to start working with us on some of the estimates and on the plans. So no, it's not a profitable operation. We think improved facilities can help us get closer to that because we can have other events here that we make money on the outside. We make money on the outside events, not necessarily on lunches on a day-to-day basis with our members. So bringing other outside events can help us get closer to a break even on the food and beverage operation. Paul, do you want to make any comments on?
Just to let you know, last year we got the loss in the restaurant to under $80,000. Previous years it was anywhere from $140,000 to $120,000 loss, and pretty much we're on pace to get it again under $80,000, which really equates to about, if you have 1,300 homes, about $65 a year for each home that is costing to have a restaurant that you can drive out to and have drinks and food with family and friends.
Again, this is the club and our restaurant. We don't operate here to try to make money. We try to minimize the loss in each department, so I try to keep our association fees down as much as we possibly can. But it is a club. We're trying to create a lifestyle. If we wanted to operate food and beverage as a profitable operation, we basically have to cut back substantially on the services that we provide there because we just couldn't be open the number of hours that we are. Next question, comment?
There we go. My name is Jeff Seaman. Some of you know me, some of you don't want to know me. Report this to me as many attractions. It's not any one thing that people move in here for. And some of you are golfers, some of you are exercise people, some of you love to go out and eat dinner, and it goes on. One of the things we enjoy is entertainment. And I was wondering, in the revamping of this building, was there any consideration to the acoustics that we are now currently missing in here?
I couldn't hear you, Jim, sorry.
That would be a prime concern for us. When you hire an architect, we go out and hire consultants to do certain specialties, whether it be a kitchen design or acoustic design, and we'll do that. We'll do that for this, especially for this room too.
Next comment, question?
Is it possible for us to get a hold? I saw the budgetary numbers, and they're pretty high-level views. My experience has been you learn a lot more sometimes by looking at the month-to-month revenue and cash flow. And given the size of this and the potential needs for other reserves, has that been thoroughly taken into account? Because you're going to shut this place down for some time, which means an additional loss of revenue, which takes the hole a little deeper. I'm not saying it's not possible, but those are the kind of trends that can come and bite you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. We did a lot of research on this. We've been working on it for well over a year now. As far as lower level budget numbers, you can see our monthly figures. They're posted on the president's page, and they're pretty much every line item that we budget for is listed on there. So what you saw there was just a there are a lot of numbers behind that led to that point. Go ahead.
What I was just mostly interested in is tracking monthly revenue and cash flow. We have peaks and valleys, and that's my experience in past businesses. That's where you get in trouble.
Okay, well, that's posted on there as well. In fact, it's in a graph form, so you can see month to month. It has year to date. It has, we probably have all of 2012 on that, probably part of 2011, and everything through June of this year. The reason we don't have July yet is we don't have the numbers from Greenacre yet for July. We're waiting for that. So if you need anything more than what you see on there, let me know. And, you know, our numbers are there for anybody to look at. We try proactively to put things out. And as far as the reserves too, there's a nice summary coming out in the next tidbits on our reserves and how that money looks and all the things that are covered in the reserves as well.
If I could just add one thing to that also, related to the timing, they said, you know, we were targeting next day to do the improvements. Well,